Welcome back to The Bottom Line. I am joined by Justin LoFranco, editor-in-chief of The Morning Chalk Up. How's it going, Jess?
Fantastic. Happy Friday, Niki.
Happy Friday. We are kind of in the final lead up, if you will, to the CrossFit Games. Feels like election season, I think, in like the coverage aspect of it, where information is trickling out and we're learning more and more as the days go by. And now we're just a few days away from the start of competition. So what is it looking like right now? How is everything shaping up for the big kickoff of the 2020 Games?
Yeah, it is kind of a little bit like election day or election season. It actually is election season now that I think about it.
Oh, actually that too. Yeah.
We are in September, and so we're less than 2 months out. Nonetheless, here's what we know right now is you got 60 athletes going to be squaring away starting essentially next Thursday Pacific time, which is going to be Friday morning in Sydney. And there's going to be roughly two days for each athlete, but with the time zone shift, it's about 2.5 days. So each athlete's going to have about 2 days to complete a series of workouts that are going to be separated into 4 separate workout time zones. We don't know the specific number, but if I were a betting man, I'd say maybe 5 scored events, maybe 6 scored events. But we don't know the answer to that yet. But what we do know is that athletes will be doing this in their own local time zone. So they're not going to be competing overnight, not at 2 a.m. or 4 a.m. They're going to have, regular sort of daylight time zones. They're going to be completing these workouts. And then those scores are going to get reported back via not only the live in-person judge, but a recorded video that they have there on site to kind of review and to ensure that, everything, the reps are good. And those will be reported, and then they will be updated basically on the leaderboard on games.crossfit.com after each sort of window. And so fans, spectators, athletes will be able to see, hey, this is how I did. This is where they are after sort of segment 1 and whatever events are included in that segment. Those scores are going to get updated. And then, of course, Niki, you're going to tell us all about what happened and what was amazing on CrossFit Games, the studio show, which is going to be coming up right after each one of those slots is concluded.
What do we know right now about whether or not the athletes can do these events more than once within their window?
Yeah, they can't. That's very specifically is that they're not going to be able to do any repeats. So it's not like the Open where you're like, hey, here's 2 days essentially, or like the AGOQ, which is kind of a little bit closer, which is like, hey, here's 48 hours. You can do these 6 workouts as many times as you want to. You could do 12 workouts in 2 days if you'd like. It's not going to be like that. There's a live judge who's in person, who's going to be verifying the reps and the score, and athletes are required to do that workout only once, or allowed to do it only once, and they have to do it in that specified time frame for that workout. So it's not like they can leave that one till the end or whatever. They have to deal with the fatigue of that workout at that specified time and moment, and they don't get to change it for their strengths or their weaknesses.
I think what's interesting is that a lot of us are looking ahead at the finals, right? The 5 men and 5 women who get to go to the live in-person competition after this online phase 1. And we're making predictions based on other online qualifiers and competitions that we've seen in the past, including the Open. But the more details seem to shake out about this phase 1, the more it seems so different from the Open to me. So what do you think the correlation is in terms of making those kinds of predictions?
Yeah, kind of tough. So first of all, we've been 11 months since the last Open. And so kind of comparing the 2020 season Open to today is a little bit challenging from a performance benchmarking standpoint. I think the best athletes in the world are still going to perform pretty damn good. But the Open is 5 weeks and structured intending for, so that fatigue to die down, and you're going to have these 4 days to sort of complete this workout, and you could do it as many times as you want, then you go back to regular training. This is intended to be a 48 hour from the athlete's perspective. 48 hours are going to smash and go. And so I would liken this a little bit more like the AGOQ, where it's essentially a weekend of 4 days where, athletes have to throw down. But being that it's in a specified order, there's sort of a gradual fatiguing element to that. And there's sort of a science to, okay, when we're doing a workout, why, and whether we're doing a 1 rep max lift after, sort of earn your barbell component where, you're going to be doing this very intense, very aerobic and fatiguing workout where you're going to have to go really hard, and then you're going into some kind of a lifting element where it's either a ladder or it's heavy or it's find as heavy as you can go. There's a strategy to that and to programming something, and ultimately this is a test, right? So like in CrossFit, You know, at all stages of competition, you're subjected to a different kind of test. So I would expect the test to be different. And I would think that those elements, like a 48-hour time window, are going to play into effect here. And they're going to adjust the programming accordingly. And so, yeah, I don't really think it's exactly comparable. I think that we've been comparing it to the Open because this is an online format, and you're not going to have the same kinds of apparatuses that we've seen at the games in the past. No snails, no slugs, no Zeus rigs, no, none of those, no bikes, no crits, all of that kind of fun stuff that makes the game such a great viewing and spectator experience is going to be here. So yeah, it's similar to the Open in that sense, and that the equipment's going to be limited, but I think the test is going to be pretty damn hard.
I wonder if, speaking of all the things that are going to be missing that we normally have, I so very much wonder how the lack of people, and I don't just mean like, the crowd at the games. I mean like people in the gym. Like these athletes have to do it themselves with their judge.
Actually, they don't act technically now.
So, okay, so explain, because in my mind, it's like, okay, is it like silent and there's just this one athlete and there's one judge and there's one camera? Like how can it shake out?
Well, so what we've been told and kind of what's been happening behind the scenes is just sort of like, look, what CrossFit and what the athletes are interested in doing is ensuring that nobody has a competitive advantage by understanding where somebody else's score is. And so, if you're not going to make everybody do it at the same time, like Rogue did, then essentially you need to keep scores secret. Now, what would be a bad way of keeping scores secret would be, essentially having all of these broadcasts at different times, and then another athlete's looking at it and going, wow, okay, that's what I'm going to have to do to win that workout.
Right.
I'm going to step off the gas pedal a little bit here and save myself for the next workout because I know I can crush that one and I need this win or whatever.
Right.
Whatever it is, the strategy that goes on in their head. They're trying to make sure that doesn't happen. So the idea and the debate around spectatorship was around that. It seems like what they've done is left it really up to the athlete. Like, look, if you want to invite 10 of your closest CrossFitting buddies to the event, you're welcome to do that. If you want to share your score with the world, you are also welcome to do that. Like if you're going to be like, yo, I'm Patrick Vellner, I'm smashing this one because it's a lot of upper body pulling, and I'm just going to throw that one out there and be like, yo, Frazier, Hepner, go chase it. Go if you want to. If you're going to be that guy, that's fine. CrossFit, it's their score. But essentially what they're asking is that people not release scores that are going to be there. They're not going to film this and go live on Instagram or on Facebook. But it's really up to the athlete to decide if they want to bring those people in and open up that opportunity and possibility for them to do that. If they want to bring media folks in like me and the rest of the Chalk Up team or any of the other media outlets out there, they're welcome to do that, and essentially the agreement is just, look, don't broadcast the scores. The athlete would probably get really pissed off and ask you to leave then if you did that anyway. So it wouldn't really be in our best interest.
What do you think, though, the behind the scenes is going to look like? Like, we know that some of these athletes are really close friends, that they train together, that they have these little, I don't know, you want to call them alliances or whatever. Like,
well, even some people have shared coaches.
Yeah, totally. Do you think there's going to be like little text chains and threads in the background? How do you think that's going to happen?
I do. But personally, I mean, I think that's the case. Look, like, especially between athletes in the male division and the female division.
Sure.
Look, like, I mean, if it were me and I'd be like, hey, I was really close to Sam Briggs and it was a rowing workout or some aerobic capacity workout, I'd be like, hey, Sam, what'd you get on that? I know you did it, and what were your splits on that? Or how many cows, an hour were you rowing on that? And she's like 1,800. And you're like, okay. And you're like, and she got this area, look, I mean, if it were me and I was an athlete, I'd be asking those athletes, especially ones that I was close with, especially ones that I knew were really good at a workout, and had that back and forth communication, be willing to share that kind of thing. Sure, I would, and I expect it to happen a little bit. We know these athletes all talk to one another and they're close, and some of them share coaches or management. Yeah. So, look, I don't think it's going to get broadcast, but I expect it to happen.
We're all going to know eventually. We're all going to know together at some point in time once everyone has done it already.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's true. We will.
What's the bottom line for you, Justin, at this point, this far out from games, as we're finally starting to get an idea of what the actual competition is going to look like? What's the bottom line going into it? Just about, a week-ish, a little less out.
Well, this is one of those things that I think that the dynamic, the fragile headspace of this kind of workout, I think in competition, because of the remoteness, because you don't know where anybody else is, because of this, those who didn't win through Rogue, I think are going to have a little bit better, an easier time adjusting and developing to this, because it is different. It's going to feel different. I think that those that do this like by themselves alone, if that's their style of working out, that's great. And I'm sure they're going to excel in that way, but there is a different kind of dynamic to competing online. And anybody that competed at Rogue, has been like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird when you're just kind of like sitting there with one other dude in a camera and, you're throwing down. And so
no music
and
yeah.
it's kind of eerie. And so how do people adjust to that environment is going to be kind of interesting for me. And I'm curious to see how they do that. But honestly, the bottom line is I think the fittest in the world don't really need a cheering crowd to figure out how to do, to crush in a workout. They're not afraid of the sound of their own breath and beating heart. So like, I think that those people are going to go out there and they're going to absolutely smash and demolish it at the same time. So I don't think that changes anything. And I don't think if you ask Dave Castro whether or not it mattered if you had a crowd to perform better for the fit is a determining factor of whether you're going to stand on top of the podium. He'd be like, really?
Mm-mm.
Come back with a better question.
Yeah, they're real life Terminators. That's just that's my bottom line. They have fittest on
real
earth
life Terminators.
Real life
CrossFit.
CrossFit. New
real
hashtag.
Life Terminators. Yeah.
TM. Pending. All right, Justin. Thank you. Thanks so much for letting us know your thoughts on this. Yep. And we will see you guys next time here on The Bottom Line.